Okay. What I want you guys to do today is turn to Matthew 6. The last 3 or 4 weeks I've been talking about just basic Christianity, basic teachings. And what I want to get into today is going to be a little deeper, but it's a very important thing that you need to know as a Christian. Matthew 6, and I titled this message, Don't Take That. You know, and I was thinking about it this last week. We went to the fair, and it's funny because you have these little booths, all these different people that sit around and you walk by them and they want to give you out all this stuff. And it's funny that a lot of times when you go up to take something, you know, there's no such thing as a free lunch in a lot of ways. When you go up to take something, there's usually a conversation involved, and usually they want to sell you something, you know, and a lot of times it's not always free, you know, there's always something involved in that. And you know, you might go up and you might think you're just taking some nice little pin, but next thing you know, you're signing up for some sort of you know, thing where you have to listen to an hour of a guy trying to sell you a timeshare, and you know, hey, you're getting something out of this, right? Well, you know, a lot of times it's not something free. It's not what you wanted, and that's what I want to talk about today. Don't take that. And what I want you to think about here is, what have you been taking in your life? What have you been accepting in your life? What have you been just embracing as being just something that's supposed to be there? You know, last week we talked about, and hopefully if you weren't here, you can listen to it online, which is cool. But I was talking about the idea of the devil, and I took just one scripture, a very easy scripture in John that says that the thief comes to kill, steal, and destroy. And I used a lot of comparisons with the Dark Knight and the Joker, and that just absolute evil that the devil is just bent on destroying. And I thought, you know, how interesting it is that, you know, we're using the scripture, how many times that we blame God for things that are the devil's fault, and how often and how just easily accepted, and how it's not even thought about. We just take it as just, oh yeah, that's true. That must be God's fault. I mean, if God is God, and He's has this almighty control over every little thing, and doesn't just imposes Himself on every little thing we do, then obviously, well, it must just be God's fault. And that's the way we come up with these crazy ideas that are not portrayed in the Bible. That things are just the way they are because God made them that way. And we think that we're just like just like a stick thrown into a pond or to a stream somewhere, and we just kind of have to go with it. And that's not the case. That's not portrayed in the Bible. If that was true, then why did God go tell the children of Israel to go take the promised land? Why couldn't they just walk into a land and it was there, But there was a fight. There was a battle involved. There was something involved in that, And it's interesting because one of the most important things in this, and what I'm talking about, don't take that, in a lot of ways we don't realize how much of our thought life decides what goes on in our life. There's a proverb, it's in Proverbs 23. It says, as a man thinks, so he is. As a man thinks, so he is. And if you guys are there, we get these ideas. We get these religious ideas. We get these different things, thoughts that consume us. It's like feeding on it. It's like something that, it's funny. I'm trying to think of a good example. Like, let's say you can't pay your bills. What do you think about all day? You can't pay your bills. You sit down and go eat. Well, what do you do? Well, I can't eat that because I can't pay my bills. And then, your whole life, everything has to do with, I can't pay my bills. Let's say you're sick, or let's say a family member's sick. What do you do all day? All you do is sit around and think about, it's funny, I loved my great-grandma to death. I mean, she was awesome, but it was funny because I can always tell what she'd been dwelling on all week, because every Saturday morning when we'd get together in the car and go to Roseville Auction, she would sit there and have this discussion with us as if we were there the whole week worrying with her. And then it was like, oh, I'm just so worried about blah, 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 blah. And it's like, all week, that's all she'd been thinking about, And it's funny because if you talk to somebody long enough, you can figure out what they feed on. You can figure out what they're taking into their life. It's what they talk about. I mean, a good example, I mean, I get my little addictions every now and then with like playing HeroClix, which is a really goofy, geeky game, or like comic books or something like that. And somebody sits down, it's like, well, I want to talk to you about this, I mean, everybody does that. You can see what people feed on. Sometimes it's okay, sometimes it hurts us, What are you feeding on? And it's interesting, I'm thinking about, like going to a fair and, there's somebody, they might be giving out some really good candy, but every time you go up there, they're going to drill you about buying something. But yet you like that candy so much, you keep going up there. But you're upset that they keep trying to drill you to buy something, My point is, and look at this in Matthew 6. Matthew 6, verse 25. And I'm going to back up here, but I just want to get to the scripture of what I'm talking about here, and then I want to back up. For this reason I say to you, take no thought for your life. Take no thought for your life. And that's why I've titled this, Don't Take That. You know, thoughts, it's interesting because thoughts are neutral. You know, people try to say, well, there's good thoughts and there's bad thoughts. Thoughts are neutral. It's up to the person thinking it, all right? Thinking is not bad. You know, God gave us the ability to dream, to desire, to think. All of these different things, God put that in us. It's neutral. It's not good or evil. You know, the idea to believe beyond ourselves and to think of things, and all those are neutral things. It's what we do with it. You know, Matthew 6, look at this. And let's back up here. Let's go up to verse 19. And this is Jesus. Now, I want to kind of give you the background here. I want to give you the background on this. I want to start Matthew 6, verse 19. And I'm going to forewarn you, I totally will not notice when 10 minutes pass because I'm really preaching. So let me know because I'm not paying attention. Matthew 6 and verse 19. It says, "Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal." Now, what were the people of Palestine during those days who sat in front of Jesus and listened to him preach? Because this is really important. Because a lot of times we read something in the Bible, we're not really thinking about, what's going on in these people's mind. Why is Jesus saying this? We just read it as, oh, this is the Bible, this is what Jesus said. And I kind of imagine it like listening to the Bible on cassette and just some guy reading it. No, there's more to this. Jesus is standing out here on this, they call it the Sermon on the Mount because where he was, on this mount, this little hill, and all these people are sitting out there, 5,000, 10, I don't know, tons of people. And they're all sitting there and they're listening to this guy. And this guy's saying something to him, and he's saying something that's pertinent to those people that he's speaking to. We read this, we see it in our own way, because we're, 2008, American people that have lived a life a certain way in a certain culture, and we put our own beliefs, but we don't really think, what were these Palestinian people thinking about? Jesus was speaking to a group of people whose whole way of life, whose their whole culture and everything had just been almost destroyed by the Romans, been totally taken over. And at any moment, the Romans could not like them anymore and destroy them.